concise and plain as I can possibly be. Our HOD has spoken very well today. It is also left for you to digest and understand his message. And if you do not understand the fused sentences, please ask your brother, ask your sister, a lawyer friend, a doctor friend, whoever is versed in understanding to break these messages down for you. I am here today to bring you the message of our leader, to reiterate the importance of his teachings, which points at the reasoning pattern of our people. I will not waste our time. Nihina ogologo akụkọ ekwu okwu too much ọ na-ebute nchefu. Equal too much brings you a situation where the brain gets saturated and information gathered becomes useless. So it is our responsibility in 2023 to start to stimulate the part of the brain which incorporates the combination of our level of consciousness and reasoning, called the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe, it is one of the 4 lobes in the brain. And different parts, and each part with a. So the burden of our people, I have come to say, is when Onyenduanye continues to say the black man reasons in the very, very low frequency. He keeps pointing at the reasoning capacity of a black man. That is the part of the brain. It is the frontal lobe. It enhances your understanding and the level of your reasoning. The frontal lobe, amongst other parts of the brain, is the area which enables the cognitive process to take place. That is where your understanding comes from. That is where the analysis and critical thinking and that ability for you to reason and plan, that is where it takes place, the frontal lobe. Over the few centuries, there has been an apparent show of an acceptance of subjugated reasoning. In Africa, every Francophone and Anglophone colony have specific differences which either portrays the French or the British culture, which makes them respond and conform to the benefit of their colonial masters. Let us take Igbo landing, for example. The Igbo landing event, I believe our people, they understand history, so I try as much as I can not to keep talking about the histories, but rather take it to expatiate or make clarifications of my meanings. So the Igbo landing event was a prime example of those who refused to conform to an unfamiliar way of reasoning, which was being imposed on them. That right there was a great difference in attitude between those who were originally enslaved and generations that have followed, who gradually allowed their thinking to be subjugated. So to enact a change, which is what today is about, we come into 2023. What I got a church 31st of December, and then when I was in secondary school, I would get a piece of paper. I would write all my resolutions. The next year I will be this person. I will do this. I will do that. I always had one resolution all the time: how to change to talk to somebody, because I am known to be too, I'm front. I will tell it to you as it is. So, and our people, we misconstrue being told the truth and being insolent. They mix it up together. Because you're older than me doesn't mean I can't tell you what you're doing wrong. And that is why our people are where they are today. So as you come into 2023, what have you got on your slate? What is the new situation you want to find yourself in? What is the new clothing you want to put on? What do you intend to leave behind as 2022 has come and gone? Do you want to remain in the same abject poverty of the mind? We have allowed the poverty of the mind to determine how we behave, to determine how we interact with our brothers and our sisters. So to enact the change, what I come here with today is that frontal lobe. We need to train it. It has to be trained. It has to be exercised and stimulated with simulations. What do I mean by that? Create and play scenarios. Like I say, find your brother who is more versed in understanding and let them break down this for you. You have to understand, because understanding is what leads you from a lower place to a higher place. I am an church. I you Bible say you get understanding. So in getting understanding, or rather get knowledge, get wisdom. In everything you get in this life, make money, do everything, but in all, get understanding. So you have to get someone who would explain further if you do not understand what I'm trying to say today. Because if we change the way we think and reason, then our situation will change. So create and play scenarios. What I mean by that, in order, if I movie, you create different movie. Don't just think in that line. Do something they call what if analysis. So mmadụ dara ada, onye a dara ada, onye onye anọ n'akụkụ ya kwaturu ya. Do a what if analysis and say, enwere mmiri nwụrụ n'ala pushuru onye ada. Enwere okpo banana nọ there mere onye ada. Okpo banana n'ebe ahụ, onye tụsara ya, onye ahụ guzo ebe ahụ tụsara ya for somebody else to say. I'm just trying to break it down so everybody would understand where I'm coming from. So don't just see a picture and that is a picture. You have to come from a diverse perspective in order to arrive to what you're looking at. In 2023, cleanse yourselves from the clutches of a trapped frontal lobe, that part of the brain that helps you to reason, that processes your cognitive pattern. Cleanse yourself from that clutches of the trapped frontal lobe, as people are more comfortable when you are in such position. One of the dangers of an untrained frontal lobe is the perception of issues from emotional standpoint and getting on the bandwagon of mantras which are wrongfully comprehended, which subsequently exhumes foolishness and has brought us into a quagmire of a non-collective approach and an ununified stance. A very good example, we keep faffing about and making noise. Everybody's jumping. But you have Eze. A lot of our people take that mantra to simply mean a lack of leadership amongst our people. However, what it simply means is that the Igbo person does not conform to sentiments or emotions, but rather are able to question any narrative which portrays us as Republicans. We keep shouting we are Republicans in nature, we don't even know the meaning. Elohim, we don't even have no clue what it is. That frontal lobe is dormant. It's not active. The incorrect interpretation of Iwewenze is the reason we cannot work together as a community or group to achieve a desired purpose, because there is always a group within another group. And that is the reason any criminally minded person can easily penetrate any evil group and cause confusion to fester by introducing false narratives which our people easily conform to. You can also, when you look, you can also spot the hypocrisy of the ill-comprehended mantra. You said in Igwe Nweze, you can't tell me what to do. We are Republican in nature. But you seek a leader. And then when you get the leader, your next plot is how to form another line of leadership. Yes, Igwe Nweze. Your next plot is to form another line of leadership within and create your own group, which when created, you cannot have your own objective. You don't have yours. You want to achieve, you have no objective you want to achieve, you can't create any, but you spend your time maligning the group you just broke out from because you have a hunger for power and control, which of course eventually, that is as certain as the sun rises in the east, you will come down. Eventually you will fall because you started off on the wrong premise. Look around you. Let's use our frontal lobe. Activate it, stimulate it. Those parts of the world with a workable hierarchical structure. Dubai, for example, which is very close by. People, when I mean by close by, people go there often. They have a better sense of direction than our people. Howbeit, we have a better leverage of individual resources, which if combined, will dwarf Dubai in every area. But what do we do? What do we do instead? You go to Dubai, you snap pictures, you buy one and two things and return home, and then oppress your brother and sister who can barely feed 3 square meals a day and ask, who are you? You go on social media and feign your miserable life to those who know nothing about you. You need to have your frontal lobe checked and stimulated. Change the way you think, and you will change the outcome of events around you. I would have cited Abraham Lincoln as the only person I revere as a Republican. He was a great Republican, but that is too far from us. So I will give an example that is closer to home. And that would be the great man, Dr. Sam Mbakwe, as his soul continues to rest in peace, was a great Republican, albeit his second term administration was interrupted by Muhammad Buhari's 1983 coup. That will be a different analysis for another day. We also jump on that mantra. We are Republican in nature. You don't even understand the intricacies. Republicans think and act on behalf of the future generation, not for their immediate financial gratification, or try to ingratiate their way and self into other people's life by bribing them or doing whatever. Republicans protect their own from oppressors, from hunger, and the deprivation of adequate infrastructure. That is what Republicans do. They do not kill their own or cause mayhem and bloodshed in their land and against their own people. There are also dangers of emotional evaluation of issues, but that will be a topic for another day, where we let emotions. When your emotions push you, you act irrationally. You will make mistakes. You will not see. You cannot ask no any back. So, like when I lost my mother, and when I cry, I like to cry in my closet, like wail and weep. But when I cry in the crowd, I cannot see. And I need to see. So when you act out of emotion, you act foolishly. you end up looking like you're a foolish person. We have to leave our emotions and put on our thinking cap. Like I said, that will be a topic for another day. So if this can be achieved, if we can activate, stimulate our frontal lobe, come the end of 2023, we shall all have a more refined and unified perspective. Because no way, you're going nowhere. You keep cycling. You take a around, circling, rubbish. The other fool I jump on. For a long time. I have a quote out of in one of the times that I sit and tap into my consciousness. And I found that there are things known for people who just see things and know. And there are things unknown for people who can't just understand. Some people is right there looking at them in the face and they don't even understand what they're looking at. That other part of the brain, we'll talk about it in the future, is not activated as well. That tells you what object you're looking at and sends the information. So there are things known and there are things unknown. And in between these things, it is the door of perception. That is the problem of our people. Perception. Understanding. It is very important. Like I said, our HOD has said it all. I don't want to take too much of our time. I want us to have what he said and what message you're listening to today to stick in your head. You can come back to this very broadcast and listen to it. Let it be the light onto your path and recycle the information. Keep listening to it and finding the holes where you need to feel and how you need to activate your frontal lobe, because that is the main problem here. In conclusion, we now understand the functions of the frontal lobe and the importance of its stimulation. That is the problem. If you have your frontal lobe working, it will not take you one week. When I give you the biological structure and process of a structural and functioning system, it took you 1 week to understand, but you have no idea what I'm talking about. You're busy talking rubbish rather than staying within the context. Your frontal lobe is not developed, is half-baked, and you need to activate it. So when you do not use an object, for example, when you go away or travel for maybe over years and there is no one cleaning up a room or your house, or you have a particular room in your house where you barely use, over time you would get a whiff of damp. When you walk into the room, there's this damp whiff you get. Each time you try to access the room, you would, except you clean that room. And that damp smell is repulsive. And this means that when that frontal lobe is not activated, your utterances and your demeanor will be repulsive. Nobody will take you seriously. Nobody will take you seriously. You will be jumping from one post to another. Hey, 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 ha, ha, Aussie. The way some people take Aussie, and you're looking at the person bringing the message Aussie. Is it how bad your brain has developed, or is this how bad your brain failed to develop? Nakokwa is claiming they attended school. Aussie again. You cannot sit down. Your frontal lobe is so inactive. It's so you're lazy. You cannot stimulate it and use it to analyze and ask questions. Your frontal lobe is so inactive. You don't know that a man who is in captivity of a government can have access and send message through his attorney to his wife, and he can have communication with his wife, and his wife has gone to see him. Your frontal lobe is not thinking. Your frontal lobe is filled with cling film and dumped in a freezer. My little son would tell you the animals that live in Antarctica, what characteristics they have, what they put on to enable them to stay warm in that -5 degrees cold temperature. But you let your brain fall in there and it's sleeping. It's sleeping. You can't be helped. Wake up and use your frontal lobe. Because you will have a home to go back to. We need our home to get where we are today. It's not our home. Noise, rubbish. You have to protect your fatherland, your motherland. So nobody will take us seriously if we continuously behave in this repulsive manner. This is what happens when that part of the brain is not stimulated. Your reasoning capacity, when that part of the brain remains unstimulated, the reasoning capacity becomes repulsive. Subsequently, most people from the lower hemisphere, or in the specificity, I would use the word sub-Saharan Africa, they fail to respond accordingly to the information being passed across, thereby weakening that ability over time. So when you don't use that part of the brain, it becomes inactive. It weakens. You can't reason for yourself. You want someone to reason and interpret it for us. That is why we have allowed people who do not understand the ways of God. He's not even meant for you to understand. People who do not understand the inception of what Christianity is all about, and understand the calling, who God has called and who God hasn't called. Everybody falls under the voice of somebody who is confused, someone who has a mental disorder, and you say he's my pastor. He said, I am not against pastor or anything, but we need to be able to understand the difference between what God wants for us and what somebody wants. Be able to discern for yourself. You let someone read the Bible and interpret rubbish for you, and you let someone sit on social media and talk rubbish, and you can't. Your brain is tired. I don't know if it's the poverty, or I don't know what the problem is. But whatever the problem is, you know what they call prayer point? We need to use this frontal lobe as for those of you, Monday I go for. I go for can you change? You pray. What people need to understand is the logos, is the similar thing, is the similarity. Every they all have one thing in common. What is that? The logos. And what is that? Is the word. Your tongue is your oracle. You speak. You speak in the affirmation that this is how I want this. You tap into the consciousness of your being. I look at some people and I laugh. You don't know the power you wield as a human. Tap into that realm of spirituality. We mix a lot of things up and everybody's confused. Better still, let's go back to the ways of our forefathers. Your channel have finished on. They have finished on. They turned Africans, sub-Saharans especially, to Dundee. Everyone becomes a zombie. Rubbish. You bag PhD, you think when you speak here, you know what I mean? That means you're intelligent. No? Or when someone says, yacht, no, I'll say yacht. It's not yacht, it's yacht. Therefore, you're more intelligent. Your frontal lobe needs stimulating. What we need is, you need your franca lingua, you need some basic mathematics that will help you add 1 and 2. And then you need all other things, physics, whatever, taught in your lingua franca. If you have to. In also English language, and therefore you're intelligent. You're not. You need to work on your frontal lobe. Okay? That's what you need. This is the main reason Africans are easily swayed in the most obvious situations. You can see the apparent truth. No, you can't, because you can't critically analyze what you're looking at. You fall for it. We need to effectively manage perceived information, ensuring that whatever is presented to us is critically analyzed and evaluated to ensure that it conforms to appropriate understanding within our knowledge base. That is why we're different from monkey. It doesn't mean that monkeys can't do the things we do. They do it. You need to see a monkey washing a plate. He washes a plate, but he washes it differently from how the human does it. When your frontal lobe is stimulated and developed, you cannot be easily fooled or swayed. The frontal lobe in the brain helps to process perceived information. It enhances your reasoning capacity. When your reasoning capacity is enhanced, the way you evaluate and analyze information is different from the way a child who is 10 years old would analyze that same information. That is to show that you have developed. So we need to attain that level of reasoning power to enable your decision making. If you make a conscious decision, or if you had made a conscious decision to have your frontal lobe stimulated, as the case may be, our land today will not be desecrated with the blood of our people. Our land will not be contaminated with the information concocted by someone whose frontal lobe is designed to create confusion and milk you once you rise against each other. But 2023, we must cleanse it. We will wipe it clean. It is imperative that we do so. If your frontal lobe is developed, you would have perceived that all the teachings of our leader was to prepare you for a time such as this, so you do not fall and replace the development of your frontal lobe with unbridled emotional perception. If your frontal lobe is activated, you will ask questions unceasingly. You will ask yourself, what have you learned all these years from the teachings of our leader, Mazin Nnamdi Kanu? I want a circulation of our leader's appearance in 2015 in CK. That is why I love Aba people. 1929, the Aba women riot. Aba people, they are strong-willed. This nonsense, people are being kidnapped in Enugu, in Soch and the rest of it. Do you hear such nonsense in Aba? Aba will tell you that you cannot come and speak to Aba person and the person will swallow you hook, line, and sinker. They will reason. They will analyze what you have just said to them. Please find that video of the appearance, the rally of our leader in 2015, CK Siaba. People were running from our area. People were leaving their shops and running like they were mad. They were going crazy. They wanted to go and see the man who had made a conscious decision using his frontal lobe to bring his people together. He thrived on showing his people the path to achieving the saying, and the meaning of one family. You could travel home without the fear of being kidnapped. There was no incessant killing of our people. Nnamdi Kano's primary aim is the protection of our people. And he knows the dangers of people with undeveloped frontal lobes. And he kept asking you, he knows the dangers of such people, the mayhem they could cause for the people, because they do not understand the vitality of loyalty. They join the freedom fighting body with their undeveloped frontal lobe, which they brought from their local meeting groups to cause confusion. You are under the sound of my voice today. You are one of the people, you blackmailed your brother and sister just for your position. And then when you mess up in that position, which you did not get using the right path, what do? You run back to the person you initially blackmailed, and you two will gather together against the body you were once part of. Your frontal lobe needs to be activated. You need to stimulate it. If your frontal lobe is activated, you would know that the union you have formed with the person you once blackmailed is smeared and fraught with danger, enveloped with dishonesty, grudge, and disdain. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Who is your friend? He is not your friend. That is another danger with mantras. You drop enemy is my friend. When you're done dealing with that enemy, this person will deal with you, because your relationship is not based. You didn't kick it off based on a good premise. It's formed based on killing someone else or maiming someone else. Therefore, your relationship is hokey pokey. Does not exist. You two are deceiving yourselves. You are deceiving each other, because one thing you have in common is to destroy that body you once belonged to. After that, what next? You have yet to ask yourself that question, because your frontal lobe is inactive. That is why you can't even ask the question. Clean up your hearts in 2023. Clean up your heart. Those of you that read the Bible, it says, lift up your hearts, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors. What is the gate? Activate your frontal lobe so you can understand and identify what these gates are. Gates. The gate of confusion, the gate of backbiting, the gate of being power hungry, looking for where to fester confusion. Hitler once failed. Eventually, you can never stay on top forever. You will eventually come down. But make sure that as you were fighting your way up, you have the floor. You made it all smooth and nice. You put beds. Okay? That is what I'm trying to say. So that when you fall from there, and a lot of people are waiting for you. So you imagine like for messing up the ground whilst you were going up. So lift up your hearts, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up. When you activate that part of your brain, you will understand what these gates are. Tap into the consciousness of your being so you can see in the dark. For myself, in the future, a lot of people will come to understand me. I see better in the dark. When it's dark, then that is when I see what you can't see. Those who are close to me know what I'm trying to say. I see what you can't see. And for you to be able to tap into that consciousness of your being, you need to acquaint yourself with darkness. Darkness is not evil things that you need to do. Darkness means a quiet path. It means a place where you sit and you see nothing but a tiny tunnel where you tap into the consciousness of your being, and then you can see better things. And we shout on the Bible, the chukwu hụrụ n'anya ka ọ na-ekpughere ihe zoro ezo. Ihe zoro ezo dịrị ndị na dịrị mmadụ, nke zoro ezo dịrị Chineke, mana nke ekpuchiri ekpuchi, nke zoro ezo ka Chineke na-ezi ndị ọ hụrụ n'anya. Yeah, ndị ọ hụrụ n'anya, but you cannot be empty and he will show you nothing. Enweghị ị ga-ahụ, because you're busy making too much noise and following noise all over the place. So you can't even hear him. So you need to find that part where you can tap, where you can be able to see that is God can show it to you. I look at some people and I laugh because they think I see them for who they are. You think I don't know nothing about you? I do. Once you say hello to me, I know who you are already. So tap into the consciousness of your being so you see in the dark and hear in the midst of noise. A wise man once said that in the midst of noise, you need to be able to pick wisdom, pick it up, capture that tiny bit of thing that can elude even the finest of minds. But you will be able to pick it. Why? Because you can tap. You can, in the midst of noise, you can hear. And in the dark, you can see. Connect with the power of discernment, and you will see the glory thereof. If we connect to being able to discern things, we will be better people. Come the end of 2023, we will, and I promise you that. But where we are today, we need to sanitize. Sometimes it's as if Nnamdi Kanu has spent since 2012 talking, and people just come. They don't listen. They listen to leader. Our leader. Us follow you. Support. We are formidable. We are indomitable. One wind. Rubbish. Someone who can barely find the road to his house is telling you he's bringing you Biafra 2023, and your frontal lobe needs to be stimulated. Stimulate it, because this is becoming it's becoming to an agenda. My mother would say, "Hara okay, it seems we're all mad." How can you ever get anything if you don't have a line of hierarchical structure? How can? It is foolishness. Learn to differentiate when you're foolish and indisciplined. Learn to know your place. Learn to know your place. I once got a message. Somebody, if I was Nnamdi Kanu's wife, what I would be doing? Why don't you see me everywhere, looking for what you need to do? Because I know my place. Because I understand the hierarchical structure process. Because Ishi cannot have iburu mini nishi. No. Every part of of the body, how it functions. Learn that. Always incorporate natural biological things, analyzing them, incorporate them into the things you're looking at. It will help you to create simulations. People go to church and see that, and pastor will preach, and they just, it's when I became, not when I became, I've always known what I am, but I wasn't completely blossomed in the fullness of my personality. But eventually, when I started to understand who I am and to understand the things that I see, I am able to analyze the things I see. By the time I'm done breaking it, 99.9% of people that come around me, it wears me out. It wears me out because I feed off people. So when you come around me, I feed off you. I know if you're true or if you're a horrible person. I know. Oh, I know. And gradually they fizzle, they disappear. Some, I don't have to say anything to them. They figure out that I already know. They don't come around me anymore. That is my strength. You will see the glory thereof once you begin to discern the wisdom, once you begin to hear the important things in the midst of noise, once you begin to see things in the dark, you will see the glory thereof. Nobody would sway you. And with that, be strong in the face of your enemies. When you see evil, call it evil. Speak the truth always, because truth is strength. Ezioku will set you free. Ezioku will kikeregi. Ezioku, truth is honor. Truth is light. Obi and it remains your stronghold. That is the only thing that is constant, the truth. Ezioku will eventually come up. I like the music that our brother Jonathan played, and it would be nice if he could please play that song again afterwards. He says, "Ọhụrụ si na ya ahụ gị, ọ bụ ya ka ikpe mara. Oriri si na ya eri gị, ọ bụ ya bụ uche ya jụrụ ajụ. Amawo m na ọ ga-adị ka ọlụ ebube. Ịgbasịa lịkalịka, uche Chukwu ga-eme. Mgbe oge Chukwu ruru, akwa mkpuche kewasịa. Amawo m na ọ ga-adị ka ọlụ ebube. Ọ ga-adị ka ọlụ ebube mgbe oge Chukwu ruru. When the time comes, nothing can stop it. The miracle that awaits us. But we must be prepared with a clean heart and stimulated frontal lobe. This is Radio Biafra, where we worship. From me here, it is Happy New Year to you once again. Good evening, and thank you for listening.